For the first time, a significant amount of information on Age of Empires 4 has been released during today's fan preview event, and watching that video left us with mixed feelings. Age of Empires 4 is a game that has extremely high expectations to fulfill. A lot of fans of Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 3 are waiting for a new title in the series and are hoping for a high-quality game, and we're not 100% convinced yet that Age of Empires 4 is going to be that game.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to just discuss some of those points and give our personal opinion on that. And I would say let's start with the graphic and art style of the whole game, because that's what people see at first glance and also what you have to cope with when playing, of course. So I think the first and most important point is the whole stuff looks very comic-like. Like, it's very bright, very bloomy, very, yeah, kind of cheerful even. And I really don't like that art style too much. I like it if it's a bit like gritty, dark. That's how it should be. Like, in the end, it's battles and like people fighting each other, like nations or civilizations fighting each other. And there has to be some drama and some substance and like also some negative aspects of it. And I kind of miss them from the whole look.
Yes, I'm with you there. A game about fighting and killing each other has to have a serious undertone. I think this game is way too flashy. It looks more like a MOBA maybe, or maybe like a Fortnite ripoff, and that is something I definitely dislike. You can see it at some points more than at others. So, for example, those nature shots we have seen during the trailer, those look actually quite beautiful and quite realistic. So water, trees, stuff like that, vegetation in general, that looks very good. But the buildings, the units, stuff like that, that just like looks very bright, very like clean, not very gritty, not very medieval-like. And I think that art style is definitely the wrong choice for this type of game. Bringing up the next point, which is actually quite closely connected to the previous point, the animations in the game, especially the unit animations, look very unnatural in my opinion. I really disliked them during the trailer. I wasn't even sure why, but then I had a closer look and realized that the animations themselves actually look quite smooth, but there is a split-second pause between each time the animation is repeated. So, for example, if you look at the horses walking, then like they do one step, and then there's a split-second pause between this step and the next one, and that feels very clunky. The same for like shooting or fighting animations, and yeah, I don't even know why they're doing it that way. There's no real transition between the animations, and
yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I really hope that they like improve that and make it a little bit more fluent. Maybe one thing to add in here, this is of course all pre-beta footage, but it's already taken from the engine. They can already, like, of course they can still change it, but drawing from experience with Age of Empires 1, 2 and 3 Definitive Edition, the first gameplay footage that you see is usually also the one that you get upon release. So let's hope that they do something, but not sure if that is really a hope that we should strive for.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's discuss graphic effects, like flames and stuff like that. I like some of them. I like the destruction of buildings, for example. Looks pretty good, I think. With flames and all that, yeah, it's also a bit like too much comic style for me. I mean, yeah, I think some of them even look better in Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition, right?
Yes, they do, especially the explosions. Like, for example, if you have a look at the explosions caused by these like Chinese rocket throwers, like 𝐤𝐤𝐤s, I think they're called. Those look very unnatural, right? They're just like a little, very bright explosions. There's like no smoke, no dirt being thrown around. And like, I mean, we're in 2021, right? I mean, the technical ability to like create stuff like that is there. I mean, you could make an awesome RTS title with like a lot of very cool graphics effects. Obviously, these might be detrimental to the visibility or the playability of the game, but I mean, to a certain extent, some realism in the game would be nice.
Yeah.
The last point regarding the visuals of the game we have to discuss is the game performance. I think, well, the art style is definitely debatable, and maybe some people like it, others don't, as we do. I think there is one thing that you cannot argue about, and that is performance issues. And I think it's a bit concerning that even the trailer footage we have been seeing today has performance issues at some points.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the game's definitive editions of Age of Empires 2 and 3 already were plagued by like performance issues upon release, and those were like patched later on. But Yeah, if they start the Age of Empires 4 release with a laggy game that is basically unplayable if you don't have like high-end computing hardware at hand, then this will like really harm the whole community and player base. So I really hope they fix those performance issues and make it like run smoothly, even for like setups that are a couple of years old. And yeah, I think that's really important. Okay, let's come to game concepts. First of all, I think we need to discuss the new civilizations. We have confirmed the Englishmen, the Delhi Sultanate, the Chinese, and the Mongols, and probably also like French in some form. And yeah, that's, I don't know. I mean, it's good. They show some diversity there. I like that. I like that they're not that like similar to each other than as in Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. But I also feel like if they only release those civilizations and do not show and include more, then there will also be coming some hate for that, because I think it's important to allow players for some options and like customizability. And I don't really see that from the trailer so far.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, we don't know how many civilizations there are in the finished game. But again, it's a bit concerning that in like the walkthrough through the 4 ages, they have shown they only show 4 civilizations. So they start off with 2 civilizations. They show 2 different civilizations for the second age, and then they essentially are sticking to the same civilizations again and again and again because they actually don't have more to show right now.
Yeah,
that might be because other civilizations are not finished yet, or it might be because there aren't a lot more civilizations in the finished game. I don't know. But in the past, there has been a concerning trend of Relic not including as many civilizations in their games as they did in previous titles. For example, in Dawn of War 3, there were only 3 civilizations available at the start, whereas in Dawn of War 1, I think it was 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a trend of like the number of civilizations, so the actual number of content like going down, and obviously that's a bit concerning. Other thing we need to discuss is the setting of the game. I'm very disappointed by the fact that this is another game in the medieval ages, because there's so many strategy games about this time, and there's also another age title in this like time period, and actually a quite a good one. I love Age of Empires 2. I don't think there is a need for like a new Age of Empires 2, because the old one was actually quite decent. So I don't really see why they have chosen the same age for the new title here.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that. I would love to see some like new aspects, some new ideas, new approaches, and not like the same stuff that we already saw in H2. But yeah, they decided to go for medieval setting, so we have to deal with that. They have also shown that there will be historic campaigns. They didn't give too many details there. It looks kind of interesting, like guiding the journey of a nation or of a civilization throughout different ages. A little bit similar to H3 minus the fantasy aspect. So it looks more like historically based, which I kind of like. Also looks like each civilization gets their own campaign, which is also good, I think.
Yeah, essentially. But yeah, like I said, we cannot be too sure about those aspects. Obviously, that's pure speculation at this point. How the campaigns are going to look like. Yeah. There's obviously not much to say on this point yet, because we only have seen like 20 seconds of like this one campaign intro.
Yeah.
Yeah, another point is the game is probably a mix between Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 3. So, for example, the way units are sieging down buildings, like throwing the little torches, that's like taken directly from Age of Empires 3. The fact that villagers have to gather resources and drop them off somewhere, that's like pure Age of Empires 2 for you. So the 4 ages, that's just like a carbon copy of Age of Empires 2, for example. So, I mean, like sticking to the essence of what your series is, because this is obviously not a completely like standalone new video game title, but a new installation in the Age series, is obviously good. But on the other hand, you need to go some new ways. You need to bring some new and exciting game mechanics. You need to bring some new content to the game. You cannot like reproduce the same game just for nostalgia factor all the time. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, some of that stuff, like some new stuff was in there, like for example units being able to hide in forests. Of course there was the option to hide and camouflage units in Age of Empires 3, but it looks more elaborate, like hiding them in terrain. So that's kind of interesting. And also of course having units fighting on walls and like being able to mount units and like outposts and walls. Of course, this was also kind of possible in H3, for example, where you could put your villagers into your TC for making it firing, but it looks a little bit more intricate and like elaborated, so I kind of like that, but I still think, as you said, it's kind of a mix of Age of Empires 2 and 3, and I really miss like more new content there, and I'm also not sure, for example, if they could include any form of customizability, extending the option of choosing among the civilizations. Like in Age of Empires 3, you had the card system. Of course, there were many people hating that because it made the whole game very rushy, but on the other hand, I kind of like it because it gives a possibility to the player to adapt and like to come up with their own playstyle and really adapt their whole like civ choice to their playstyle and allow for customization. And I think that's important for a long time motivation in a game.
Yes, exactly. And, well, regarding the civilization mechanics, that's probably one thing we forgot to mention when we were talking about civilizations. They advertised the civilizations to be very diverse, so very different mechanics for the civilizations. That's obviously a good thing, don't get me wrong here, but on the other hand, with the last couple releases regarding Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 3, there were big balancing issues, and obviously we also like to play our games in multiplayer, so balancing issues are a huge concern for us. And if you have very diverse civilizations, you need to come up with good balancing. You need to put a lot of work into that, which is not easy. And like I said, in the recent past, they didn't do so well on that. So I'm hoping very much that they are actually able to balance those civilizations.
Yeah, absolutely. I still think like having diverse civilizations is better than like having really many that are very similar to each other. But yeah, we just have to see how the game develops, how the betas go, and if they are able to balance everything out. So I would say let's come to a conclusion here. I think we covered most of the important points. Of course, there's a lot of more stuff to discuss, like the different units that we saw and everything, but that goes into details, and we want to keep this as short as possible. Yeah, so I'm personally, I kind of like many aspects. Like I kind of like some of the graphics. I like that they like have really big armies, but I also feel like the whole coordination of units looks a little bit like difficult and kind of raises bad vibes. Trying to control your cavalry and all that looks a little bit tricky. I kind of like the setting, but then again it's also a bit boring, and I just really miss like new content in the whole game. Like it looks very much to me like a very polished version of Age of Empires 2 with some
polished
aspects.
Or polished?
Polished.
Is it
not
stolen
a Polish?
or is it polished?
No, a polished version of Age of Empires 2 with some aspects being taken out of the book of Age of Empires 3. And I'm just curious to see what more is to come. I really hope that, I mean, they still have time left. I really hope for like beta feedback and like developers really spending time on trying to refine the game. I really wish it to be a really good addition to the whole series, kind of refueling the whole franchise and maybe even the RTS genre in general. I definitely see options and possibilities for that. But yeah, there's also a lot of criticism, I think. And like, yeah, it really... they really have to improve some of the points that the community gives feedback on, I think.
Yeah, this is Rav's more positive way of looking at things, but honestly, I think that the future perspective for Age of Empires 4 is quite grim, probably. I see the game as a blatant cash grab designed to capitalize on the nostalgic feelings people have towards Age of Empires 2. And that doesn't need to be a bad thing, of course, if the game itself is of good quality. But Age of Empires 4 always reminds me of the latest Star Wars trilogy that was essentially only designed to reproduce the nostalgic feelings people had for the first Star Wars trilogy and to like get those original Star Wars fans back to the movie theaters. But the new Star Wars trilogy just failed to like develop the series. They didn't implement many new and innovative elements into the series. They failed to do good world building. It was just like badly designed at many points. And I'm very much afraid that the same is going to happen for Age of Empires 4. The difference is that while Star Wars is probably able to recover from those films, I don't think that the Age series is going to recover if the release for Age of Empires 4 is going to be bad. This, again, reminds me of another thing, which is Dawn of War 3, by the way, also developed and released by Relic Entertainment. which is most likely going to be the last installment in the Dawn of War series because it failed miserably. And for a simple reason, because Relic didn't manage to listen to what the fans actually wanted. They designed a game that the fans were actually not happy with. And that is another thing I'm afraid regarding Age of Empires 4, that Relic again will just like design their own vision of an Age of Empires game and just fail to listen what the fans have to tell them. Obviously, I cannot really predict the future, and maybe everything is going to work out fine in the end, and I would love to see that, but I'm just not convinced that that is going to happen.
Yeah, so also one important thing I think just to remember here is like if they don't fix the performance issues and like if they release a game that is not well playable, then the fans and the community and the player base will just stick to the old games, and then Age of Empires 4 will definitely fail. So I think the most important thing is like they have to have some like new content and new ideas in the game, but also they have to release a really stable game. They will have to support multiplayer really well. They have to support all types of like computing hardware, and they also have to support many game modes and everything, and just don't give people a reason to go back to Age of Empires 2 or 3 Definitive Edition. So
yes.
And that's of course very hard to do, but I think that's the task that they should focus on. And
yes,
yeah,
I mean, the RTS community is quite small at this point, so they only have one shot to attract a lot of attention, and if they fail to do so, then they got a problem. And even though Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition and Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition came from different studios, both of those games were quite buggy and had performance issues when they came out. I really, really hope that Relic is able to do better. I'm just not convinced that that is going to be the case. Yeah,
let's have fingers crossed for that, and I think that's it also for this video. We will definitely discuss more updates on Age of Empires 4 here on this channel. Also feel free to check out our Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition videos on this channel, and there's also some news for that coming up, so we might also do a video on that, we have to see. So yeah, that's basically our thoughts and our opinion on the whole topic. Would be very, very interested in your opinions on that. I already saw in the chat today, in the fan preview event, that there's been like solid amount of criticism, also not only from us but also from other community members, and I really hope that Relic like focuses that and tries to improve the work that they do and really come up with a really good game. And let's see how things pan out.
Exactly.
So, until then, hear you and see you around. Thank you all for tuning in, and hear you in future videos.
Yeah, that's all for now. Goodbye.
Bye.